certain cities that the moment you hear their names, make young people around the world picture a completely different kind of life. A more modern place, brimming with luxuries and entertainment, higher incomes, rapid career advancement. This is the land of dreams. These cities move at a different pace. Everything feels more connected, with a constant flow of people and work. And when you're inside that environment long enough, it starts to feel like you could conquer the world. So what is it about places like Singapore, New York, or London that makes them so compelling? It's not just the paycheck, it's the work culture, the way industries overlap, and how quickly opportunities seem to surface. In these cities, your individual effort is part of something larger. You're surrounded by talented people who are learning, competing, and pushing each other forward at a serious pace. The world today is deeply interconnected. A career is no longer limited to one city or one country. It exists inside a global system where money, companies, and talent constantly move across borders. Within that system, a handful of cities play an outsized role. They become hubs where major decisions are made, and those decisions often shape markets far beyond their borders. When large flows of capital concentrate in one place, a chain reaction begins. Companies expand, new roles open up, supporting industries grow around them. Over time, the city itself evolves to keep up with that growth and intensity. Infrastructure improves, services upgrade, the overall standard of living gradually rises. And together, that is what we call an international financial center. In reality, this isn't just a label. These cities are tracked and evaluated through global ranking systems. One of the most widely referenced is the Global Financial Centers Index, published by Ziyan in partnership with the China Development Institute. The index looks at 5 core areas of competitiveness. 1. The business environment, things like regulatory clarity, stability, transparency, and taxation. 2. Human capital, the availability of skilled professionals, education quality, labor flexibility, and overall quality of life. 3. Infrastructure, transport systems, digital connectivity, telecommunications, and modern office space. 4. Financial sector development, the depths of banking, insurance, asset management, and capital markets. And 5. Reputation, how the city is perceived in terms of innovation, safety, credibility, and cultural strength. In recent years, cities like New York, London, Hong Kong, Singapore, San Francisco, Chicago, Los Angeles, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Seoul consistently rank at the top. These are the cities widely seen as sitting at the center of how global capital moves today. When you step back and look at those 5 categories, you start to see that they don't operate separately. In the real world, they overlap and reinforce one another. Together, they create a kind of environment that only a small number of cities can sustain over long periods of time. And that environment is what ultimately shapes how people live, work, and build their careers inside those cities. In international financial centers, opportunities arise from the high density of money flows, business activity, and decisions. When major institutions cluster in the same area, expand side by side, and compete within close proximity, demand for talent rises quickly. The job market becomes dynamic, not because there are no workers, but because new challenges constantly require new combinations of skills. For people who are ambitious, that feels very different from slower-paced environments. Instead of waiting years for the right opportunity, they find themselves at frequent crossroads, where one well-timed decision can shift the direction of their career within just a few years. That concentration of opportunity also means careers rarely follow a straight path in these cities. Switching companies, changing roles, or even moving into a different field becomes a normal part of professional growth. Each move adds new skills, new connections, and a deeper understanding of how the broader system actually works. Over time, a career is defined less by how long someone stays in one position, and more by the depth of experience and the ability to adapt to constant change. The pace of life in these cities mirrors the way the global economy functions. Information travels quickly. Feedback arrives fast. and the consequences of decisions become visible sooner. A single year in this kind of environment can hold as much learning as several years elsewhere. Mistakes show up early. Lessons come quickly. And people who stay alert tend to mature at an accelerated rate. That sense that time actually carries weight is one of the reasons many people choose to stay, even under pressure, because they can feel their own growth happening in real time. More than anything, it is people who create that hustle and bustle. International financial centers attract individuals who are comfortable with complexity, responsible for high-stakes decisions, and used to competing at elevated standards. Working alongside people like that every day gradually resets your own expectations. The way problems are framed, conversations are handled, and decisions are made becomes more direct, more practical, and more structured. Growth happens through constant observation, comparison, and the willingness to push yourself to keep up with the environment around you. In that kind of environment, your network becomes a form of invisible capital. It may not show up on paper, but it carries real weight. Many opportunities never appear on public job boards. They come from short conversations, chance meetings, or relationships built over time through shared work. In international financial centers, networking is not a formal exercise. It becomes part of everyday professional life. Information spreads quickly, opportunities change hands quickly, and the people already inside the flow often have an advantage when timing matters most. However, a dynamic business environment, a high-quality workforce, and numerous large enterprises can only function effectively when urban infrastructure keeps pace with their operation. Reliable public transport, strong international connectivity, modern office space, and stable digital systems help preserve the most valuable resources in this environment, which are time and energy. These things may seem ordinary, but in cities where each day is packed with decisions and pressure, even small disruptions can create real costs. Over time, all of this builds something more lasting, which is reputation. The reputation of an international financial center is not built during boom years. It is built during difficult moments. Financial crises, market shocks, and global disruptions become the ultimate stress tests. When a system moves through those periods while maintaining order, protecting core principles, and continuing to function, its position in the eyes of global capital becomes stronger. It is often under pressure that credibility becomes most visible. At the same time, this kind of environment comes with trade-offs. These include high living costs, intense work pressure, and a fast-paced lifestyle that has become a constant part of life. For some people, that intensity becomes fuel. It pushes them to stretch their limits and unlock more of their potential. For others, that same intensity can turn into a long-term burden if they do not find balance. An international financial center is not necessarily the right place for every stage of life. It tends to suit people who actively seek challenge, rapid learning, and exposure that expands their limits. Even so, the pull of these cities remains strong. They represent direct access to the main current of global activity, where capital, people, and ideas intersect at high density. Living and working in that setting helps many people see more clearly where they stand in the global picture, what their strengths are, and what they need to improve to move forward. The experience often leaves a lasting mark on how someone thinks about their career and long-term decisions. Overall, an international financial center is the result of many converging conditions that have been tested over time. The business environment, talent base, infrastructure, financial depth, and reputation constantly interact, forming a structure that is difficult to replicate elsewhere. That complexity explains why only a small number of cities hold this position on the global map. For many people, the dream of working in an international financial center does not begin with rankings or economic terminology. It often starts small, maybe with seeing a job posting that once felt out of reach, or with standing in a city where many people seem more experienced, faster, or further ahead, yet just as determined to keep pushing forward every day. Some people choose to stay, others eventually leave. Some remain for a chapter of their lives. But almost everyone leaves with the feeling that their world has expanded more than before. In the end, the story of international financial centers is not about telling everyone they need to move there. It is about understanding that each person has to decide where and at what pace they thrive best. If you found this video helpful, feel free to hit like to support the channel. And if you want to keep exploring stories about economics, personal finance, and global opportunity, subscribe so you do not miss future videos.